This conference will now be recorded.
So, guys, I have started. Let me talk about this is purely like the session three. If you remember, on Friday we discussed about some basic concepts about manual testing, what all things are considered, what is software testing, how we are usually performing, like what is what is product versus project based testing, right? So we discuss about those pointer. Today we will be like kind of going in depth what are different you can say static and dynamic testing techniques. So here we have few of the testing techniques. I know that some of you guys are already using them. So review, walkthrough, and inspection. So what happens in review is like we are kind of trying to have the review for any of the automation script, for any of the documentations which we are involved into. Let's say if you are involved into test plan creation document, or let's say test case creation, right? So there will be a process of review as well, wherein the like your senior team lead or whoever is trying to like will have the review part to be done, wherein he'll provide the review comment based on the like standard techniques whatever we have. Then we have the walkthrough. Basically, walkthrough is something similar to review, but it's a kind of you can say informal you can say discussion wherein it happens within the team. Inspection is again one of the testing techniques in which it's a common you can say formal discussions wherein there are proper inspector, moderators, and reviewer who will be having a meeting. They will try to provide high level analysis about the project, how you are doing, what are the coding practice, how you need to do all those standard you can say high level inputs they will provide, so that whatever right now you are doing, right, it is in the you can say accurate fashion. So review is basically to make sure that the document which you have created, where all the pointers which you have mentioned, right, all those documents are like correct and it is complete. If we are having the coverage of 100% in terms of QA, so those documents should make sure that whatever points has been mentioned, right, based on that we will be like making a conclusion, like saying hey, we will be able to achieve 100% or let's say 95% of coverage through this. We will have lot of you can say review techniques, or let's say review which we need to perform as a QA. We have such as requirement review, we have some such as design review, code review, test plan review, and even like the test case creation, right? So in that also we will have the review. So in each of these scenarios, guys, we will have the review comments which will be coming through your TL or senior manager or managers, and accordingly you need to update your document so that whatever document you have created is like looking correct, and it is as per the design, it is as per the whatever requirement has been provided. So this is the basic type of testing which we usually do whenever there is documentation involved. Walkthrough is kind of informal, like if a person is, let's say, he's trying to have the look at your code, right, at the same time he will instantly provide the feedback saying that hey, you have not updated so and so scenario is missing. You should use better you can say coding standards. You need to have the comments after every line. So those kind of feedback will be provided instantly, right? So that comes under walkthrough, guys. Okay, and it is not planned, and there will be no MOM for those discussions, guys. It will be kind of at high level straight away, and at the same time you need to implement those feedback to make sure that your code is in better shape, better format. So that's the whole purpose of walkthrough. Next is inspection, guys. Inspection is most like info, like you can consider it is a like formal type of discussion wherein there will be a proper team, guys. Okay, in an any organization we have like you can say a proper team who is actually, let's say, coordinating among themselves to make sure that whatever projects are currently in the organizations, all are, let's say, following the agile ceremonies, all are following the agile sprint planning, sprint ceremonies, sprint backlog grooming. All these are the terminologies which is actually getting used in our day to day activity. Okay, so for those discussions we will have a proper team, and those teams responsibility is like every person who is involved in the team is making sure he's following the agile principle and the manifesto. So those type of discussions happens in the inspection, even at the code level, and even at the like whatever development activity is happening, right? So that's the whole purpose of inspection. Anyone has any queries for review, walkthrough, and inspection, guys? Okay. Moving on, what are the major difference between QA and QC? I know most of people are already like aware about QA, quality assurance. QC is nothing but quality control. Try to understand this in a better manner. Like whenever we are talking about creations of document, creations of test plan, test cases, can anybody tell me that is a part of QC or that is a part of quality control? Sorry, quality assurance. Anyone? Whatever document related deliverables are there, it is a part of quality assurance or it is a part of quality control? Anyone?
QA.
Okay. Anyone else? So QA is more or less making sure that whatever you strategy, like right now you're following through that strategy, you are kind of minimizing the defect, guys. Okay. Quality control will be more or less like you are actually trying to validate, you are trying to do the alpha testing, you are trying to do the beta testing. All those actual testing will happen in quality control, guys. Okay, so quality assurance, you are taking one step so that your number of defect which will be coming in quality control will be minimized. But for that, obviously the quality assurance should be perfect. Okay, so here you can see this black color dot which is already saying that with the help of quality assurance you are preventing the defect, and with the help of quality control you are detecting the defect, guys. Okay, so we as a QA are involved in both, that is quality assurance as well as quality control. But wherever there is documentation related stuff, that particular activity will come under quality assurance, and wherever there is, let's say, actual testing of the application, whether it is manual, automated, that will come under quality control. Okay, so now here QA and QC works hand in hand, guys. QA is mostly like process oriented, we will be having the actual process, and QC will be like actually testing the validation, verification, all those will happen in QC. QA focuses on like having making sure that the quality is adhered and it is like as per the standard whatever requirement is given. QC focuses on the testing for quality. Like we will raise defect, we will raise issue, we will raise Jira in QC. QA mostly responsible for prevention, QC for detection. It is process oriented, guys. Okay, QA is process oriented, and QC will be like product oriented. QA will be kind of for the entire life cycle. QC will be a part of, you are aware, like we are having total 6 phases for SDLC, under which we are having one phase which is called as testing. Okay, so QC will be involved in testing, guys. Okay, Okay, so this is the like the methodologies right now which we are having. I hope I mean everyone are aware about this methodologies. Just at high level, you need to kind of make sure that you have like basic understanding on white box, black box, and gray box. So, just a question over here, guys. Can anybody tell me unit testing what we have is coming under which type of testing? Is it white, black, or gray? Unit testing.
Unit
White box.
testing may come under the white box texting testing.
What about system testing, guys?
Black box. Black box.
Okay. And how about the DB validation, database testing, wherein we are trying to validate the SQL script, right? And we are making sure the data is correct in the database. What do you think? It will come under white, black, or gray?
White.
Gray box,
Mm-hmm.
gray box.
Okay. Uh, Perfect. So, guys, DB testing will come under gray box. Okay, we will discuss in detail. Okay, don't worry. So, first of all, as the name suggests, white box, right? White box is like kind of you can say a transparent logic, wherein you can consider a transparent, let's say crystal clear, let's say cubicle, wherein you are able to see what is present inside. Okay, so with obviously simple logic, you are aware about the functional code. Okay, when I say code, guys, code can be in any language. Okay, it can be in JavaScript, it can be in Node.js, it can be in TypeScript, it can be in ROR, Ruby on Rail, any of the programming language. Okay, but at high level, you are like having a little bit understanding on the application code, basically like what that particular code is actually doing when I'm trying to validate this particular flow. If I'm clicking on submit, which part of the code is getting executed through that code, what is actually happening, which method is getting invoked, and which method is actually returning whatever value, and we are getting the response. So those level of you can say understanding you will have when you are kind of performing you can say white box testing, guys. Okay, so in white box, usually as a QA, at least 60 to 70% skill set will be kind of you should have the coding background. I mean, you should have the ability to understand the code. It's not mandatory that you need to understand the whole code. The module which you are testing, right? So those module you should be aware what exactly is happening when I'm clicking on any of the button. So, as a white box tester, you can consider that they will have some technical background with respect to coding part, guys. Okay, so here you can consider programming skills are required. Okay, now second is black box tester who are kind of not having any programming knowledge. They are just worried about the output. You have some sample set of data, you try to pass to that application and just click on enter or hit enter. You will see that something is happening, okay, under the application part, and we will get the output, right? So this whole scenarios will come under black box testing, guys. So in a black box testing, you will not have any knowledge in terms of coding what is happening, guys. Okay. So you are straight away relying directly on the screens, Mockflow, screens, Figma. You can say any InVision Studio, those type of screen validation. That's it. You will not kind of you will try to check the code, what is written, which function it is calling. All those will be not part of you can say system testing and UAT testing, guys. Okay, last is like you can say gray box testing, correct? In gray box you will have the knowledge on scripting part as well, and you will have the knowledge on the you can say UI part as well. Why? Because in gray box you need to kind of write the SQL script also, which is coming under white box, wherein you need to write some SQL script, which including where clause, having clause, including some joins, inner joins, outer joins, right? And based on that query output, you will try to validate whatever output you are getting with the input you must have sent along with you API, along with UI screens, right? You will try to compare those values. If those are matching, then the gray box testing is passed. Okay. So database testing is an example of gray box testing, guys. Okay. uh, Everyone are clear for what is white, black, and gray? Anyone has any silly like doubt, confusion? Please feel free to unmute and speak up, guys. Okay, moving on, guys. What are the different levels of software testing? Usually we have some levels, guys, and based on this level only we kind of create all the deliverables, right, with respect to test plan, test cases, test scenarios. So we have something called unit testing at the very base level, which will be like the at the top. After that we jump to some other one of the testing which is called as integration testing, and after that we jump on to system testing, and at the end we jump to UAT, guys. So these are the four different levels of software testing through which usually any of the web applications we kind of move through. Okay, unit, integration, system, and UAT. So very simple. Here unit testing is mostly related with testing the individual component. Okay, now see, guys, this is little bit theoretical, but usually what happens is as a QA, we are kind of relying completely on the data part, and the screens should to be available, and based on those input whatever we have, we try to do like all type of testing at one go, correct? We try to make sure that if you pass this data, what will happen? If you try to pass data without this value, what will happen? So all those scenarios we try to check in same, you can say, flow, right? So out of that, in that you can say actual testing, one component is something called as unit testing, wherein you will include both the flows, guys, positive data as well as negative data. So next is integration testing, wherein you are trying to have the validation for 4 to 5 components at one go. So let's say you can consider an example of saving a template, or let's say sending an email, right? For sending an email, what all things you will do? You will log in into Gmail. You will, let's say, click on compose email. After clicking on compose email, you need to kind of enter the body of the email, and then you need to click on send, right? If you consider individually, there are a lot of individual steps involved in this, but as an integration tester, you are trying to integrate all those steps in one single test case, and you are performing the integration testing, correct? Next is system testing. Whatever integrated testing or integration testing which we have done, based on the result we will move to the next testing, that is whatever system that has been integrated, end to end flow, those are working as expected, whether it is with positive sets of data, negative sets of data. Based on that we will put like final decision, how many test case got passed in terms of system testing, integration testing, and will provide the final result. And we have one more different final, that is UAT, guys. Okay, UAT, that is something called as acceptance testing, whether we have some concept of environment which I will discuss later. So wherein you try to make sure that all the issues, bugs, defect, or whatever issues right now your team might have encountered, you need to make sure that all are resolved, everything is working as per the requirement, and we are kind of good to go to the production environment or pre-production environment. So that discussion or that decision is being done after the acceptance test is passed. If it is not passed, again this it's a kind of rework. It will go in cycle unless and until all the issues are resolved. Okay, and in this whole scenarios, guys, we are having a lot of deliverables which we need to submit, which we need to kind of give the go ahead, which we need to kind of move the code from one environment to another environment. All those discussions happens in during this testing, guys. Okay, most of the people right now are kind of using Jira, as well as there are several other, you can say, tools which are kind of helpful for creating the Kanban board, or you can say sprint board. So based on that tool selection, we are kind of following the you can say moving from one environment to another environment. I'm going little bit in detail about unit testing at high level, just to make sure you are all we are all on same page. Unit testing, as I said, it is in white box technique, wherein we are done mostly it is done by developer. At high level, you must see one like people saying that, hey, did you do the unit testing? Have you created the unit test cases for the development activity which you might have done? So this is a job of developer, guys. Okay, so developer will create high level unit test cases, he will do basic level of unit testing, and after that only he'll move to the, you can say, that particular you can say task into QA. Okay, so basic unit testings are like basis path testing, control you can say structure testing, wherein he is checking the coverages, and then mutation testing. Here you can see the UI mock flow, wherein this is the one which will be done by the QA, right? And this is the one which is at the code level, which will be done by the developer. Okay. Then we have something called integration testing. Integration, as I mentioned, basically between two or more module, to make sure that the communication, or let's say the data between those module is moving correctly, guys. So this is basically done usually when both the module are unit tested and those are working fine, and then only we should move to the integration testing. Next is like, this is a simple example for deleted mails. How you will perform deleted mails? Basically you will go with this cycle from login to mailbox, mailbox to deleted mail. You cannot go to deleted mails directly from login, right? So for that reason, you need to have the validation between login and mailbox, as well as mailbox and deleted mail, right? If you have this particular flow, then only you will be able to do the integration testing for this Gmail or any of the mailbox. We have two type of testing, that is integration: incremental, non-incremental. Incremental is a kind of top down and bottom up approach. So this is one example, like we are moving from module 1 to 2, 2 to 3, right? So here we will have top down approach, wherein you are going from one module to many module. Okay, so to make sure that all the childs are tested properly. Similarly, we are having bottom up approach. You are testing individual module first, and then at the end you are testing the module which is in red color, which is like complete module. So both the approach, as per the project, as per the plan, we can select any of the module, guys. Okay, we have the combinations of top down as well as bottom up, which is usually called as sandwich approach, wherein you are trying to have the mixed logic of both, that is bottom up as well as top down. Then we have non-incremental testing, guys. It is basically like you are trying to do everything at one go. I have given you the application, and now your intention is to find as much as issue you can, right? So in that, you don't have any flow, you don't have any documentations, you don't have anything. You are just making sure you are kind of doing all type of testing at one go. So in that scenario, what may happen, you might miss some of the defect. So that is something called big bang testing, guys. Okay, next is system testing. System testing is purely responsible for, you can say, testing the overall functionality. And very very important, guys, it is having various different things to be covered. Okay, when we say that system testing is completed, you need to make a conclusion saying that UI testing is completed, the functional testing is completed, the non-functionality testing, that is performance as well as security testing, is completed, and the usability testing is completed. Any which ways, we are kind of not going in detail about all these different types of testing, which is part of. So over here, these three are part of your day to day activity wherein you might be performing, and this is having a separate team, guys. Non functional testing altogether is having a separate team who is like the performance testing team and security testing team. Okay, and there are other different testing also which is involved in NFT, guys, non functional testing. Okay, so as a QA, we are dealing with this UI testing, functional testing, and usability testing in day-to-day basis. But non-functional testing, we will have a separate team who is kind of purely dealing with performance part as well as security part. After completing all the aspect of security, sorry, system testing, we move to the acceptance testing. We will have the alpha phase as well as beta test. So alpha means like the as a end user, you will be kind of let's say you will be end user, and you are using the application for the first time. So what is your, let's say, takeaway, how you are feeling, how, what are the feedback points, you will notice all those you can say when you are actually doing the alpha part, guys. Okay, so alpha testing is also very very important, and all the issues, all the bugs which has been encountered previously, obviously those would be resolved in alpha testing. No, there should be no any like anything issues from the functionality point of view. If there is anything which is with respect to known functionality or known bugs or known thing, right, you need to explicitly mention those things to the client. After that, client will be kind of responsible for doing one round of beta test. In beta test, obviously client will kind of come up with the feedback, guys, with respect to whatever has been delivered so far, and based on those feedback, you need to obviously check whether it is a defect, whether it is a missing functionality, whether it is a new requirement. Those types of discussions happens, guys, after doing the beta testing. Anyone has any doubt, any questions, anything you want to highlight?
Excuse me, sir.
Go ahead, please.
Sir, can you explain by the example like what is the basic difference between end-to-end testing and system testing?
Hmm. So, see, end-to-end testing, if you consider system testing, you see that we are having different form of, you can say, part of system testing, right? So, end-to-end testing, you can consider one component of system testing, right? So, end-to-end testing will come as a subset of system testing. So you can consider any real-time example wherein you are, let's say, using a Salesforce application. In Salesforce, you have a functionality of creating, let's say, campaign. You can create customer. You can create any, let's say, new items in the Salesforce dashboard, right? So what you will do, you will log in into Salesforce dashboard. You will navigate to a section wherein you need to fill all the details and click on create item, and after that you will make sure you will do a logout scenario, right? So this end to end flow wherein logging, creating an item, and performing logout, this will be a single scenario, or let's say one end to end scenario which will be involved in creating the item, and it's a part of system testing only, right? But we cannot say that system testing is completed unless and until all this different testing which is involved, it is done. Unless and until all this testing which is like UI, functional, non-functional, usability, is not completed, we will not be able to make a conclusion, or we will not be able to conclude saying that system testing is completed. So whatever you said, right, end to end will come under this logic, that is functional testing.
Okay, thank you, sir. And what about system testing, sir?
Yes, that's what. In system testing, the conclusion of system testing will happen only once all this different testing which we have, right, once it is in green stage, like everything is completed, only then you will make a statement, this particular module is have, like, the system testing for this particular module has been completed.
Okay, thank you, sir.
If anybody else anything you want to highlight, ask.
I have one question. Like after functional testing, when functional testing is done, then the non-functional testing will start. Like performance will start or security will start. So
Mhm.
performance take too much time as compared to other testing
Yeah,
activity. So after completing all the test for performance testing or security testing, after that only we can consider that the system testing is done.
correct. But in real time, when we work on real project, right, correct,
Yes. Yes.
usually that is a scenario wherein you will notice that uh, for non-functional testing, guys, we will have a separate domain, okay, wherein
Yes. Nice.
initially we are not doing any types of non-functional testing on the same domain on which we are performing the functional testing. Please keep that in mind, right? Second thing is, if the client is already aware, saying that we will not have that much load, or let's say that much security concern initially when we are launching the application, when let's say it is into the market, so the non-functional testing is considered like to be a lower priority for them, for client basically. As and when the product or the project or the module which you have tested becomes popular slowly and gradually in the market, correct, after that the client will be having lot of, you can say this thing, discussions over security and performance at that time. Meanwhile, till that time, the system is not stable, because the prerequisite for non-functional testing is, guys, the stability is very very important. Unless and until you are, let's say, as a QA, you are not able to make a conclusion saying that yes, functional testing is passed and the system is stable, right? We will not move to the performance as well as security. It may happen in most of the project, this particular testing may come after 6 months down the line, 7 months or 8 months. This may happen because first, as a QA or as a you can say team, we are making sure that the module which we have created or whichever modules we are working on, first we need to make sure that it is stable, right? So the first priority is that. After that only we will take the tickets or we will take the tasks which are related with security and performance testing. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, over here I would like to make some statement, right, with respect to because I mentioned that I need to speak about something with respect to environment, guys. Okay, so please understand this. Try to relate with your real-time project how it exactly works. Okay, try to understand how basically these things work. Okay, so first of all, let me open note section. I know like most of you are already aware about this, but still let us discuss in detail about environment. So usually we are having around 3 to 4, or let's say sometime 4 to 5 different environment on which we are kind of responsible for performing the QA part, guys. Okay, so usually you might heard from developer, right? We are having something called as developer environment. Okay, I'll take one real-time example also. Okay, so developer environment is something like the URL will be looking something like dev.amazon.com. Okay, so please consider this as the dev environment. Okay, After that, we will have one environment which will be something similar to QA environment. Okay, and the URL for that particular environment will be qa.amazon.com. Okay, I'm sorry. Next is, let's say, usually we say that stage environment. Okay, stage environment, the URL will be stage.amazon.com. Okay, and the last one, usually we say prod environment, but some of the organization may have pre-prod guys. Okay, this is actual amazon.com. Okay, now the logic actually happens between this environment by, obviously, things get deployed and validated and then moved. So as a developer, obviously the development team will be completely having the ownership of only this environment. Okay, so they will try to develop, they will move the changes, they will do the unit testing by themselves, they are satisfied. So they may ask QA, hey, can you please do a round of testing on dev environment. It's again based on like the communication between the QA and the dev. If they are having the you can say bandwidth, they will go ahead and do the testing, and they can offline say that yeah, development environment is working fine, or they will put the comment over the Jira saying that yeah, we are able to, like, we can move this to the QA environment. Okay, next, what happens from here, the code will move from here to the QA environment. Okay, now the ownership of QA environment is by the QA team guys. Okay, any issue happens on QA environment, it will be like owned by QA team. So QA team is responsible guys. Okay, so you need to make sure on daily basis you are performing every or I would say all the test cases which are relevant to any of the modules on QA. We are trying to make sure that those are getting executed, and we are making sure that the QA environment is stable. Okay, once any module, any requirement is fully tested on QA environment, then as a QA team we give a go ahead and say that hey, everything is working fine on QA environment, we have validated all the test cases, and we have ran the automation script also, we can migrate our code from QA environment to stage environment. Okay, so now here the decisions happens that saying that hey, from QA we can migrate to stage. Okay, obviously whatever functionality we have tested on QA, we need to again recheck, rework all the test cases whatever we have done. But here we need to make sure that we do actual type of testing what we are trying to do over production guys. Okay, so over here we will do again one round of testing, but to be very, you can say, make sure that all the test cases are covered. If we miss anything, the same code will be getting migrated to the prod environment guys. Okay, so we need to be double careful whenever we are saying that yes, stage environment is well like working fine. If we give this statement to any, let's say, any higher, you can say, QA manager or anyone, they will obviously consider that it is working expected, we can migrate our code from this environment to prod environment guys. Okay, and once the code move to the prod environment, again it's again our, as a QA we need to do one round of sanity smokes, regression, those different types of testing to make sure that the prod testing is working as expected. Okay, now here the migrations of code, obviously there will be a lot of component which will be involved guys. Okay, and this usually happens with the help of front end developer as well as back end developer guys. Okay, so front end will be responsible, like front end team will be responsible for migrating the front end code, and back end team will be responsible for migrating the back end code guys. Okay, I'm repeating, front end team and back end team. Okay, please understand this. So there are, like, obviously front end is more or less with respect to UI UX, as well as whatever buttons, text box is visible to UI. So those all things will be related with front end team, and back end will be mostly related with APIs. Okay, they are mostly related with APIs guys. So they need to make sure that the API calling and obviously the response is coming proper or not. Okay, so in this way they do a deployment, guys. Okay, so they will migrate their code, whatever they have created, from this environment to this environment. Okay, so we will be giving the go ahead, and after that only they will migrate from this to this, right? And this process goes on. But when it comes to prod environment, the configuration is little bit different, and even on stage the configuration is little bit different. So here the it might happen that the developer might not have the you can say right access to the database. So here it might happen that we will involve one more person, guy, that is called as DevOps engineer. Okay, so DevOps engineer will be let's say coordinating with the obviously front end as well as back end. So there are three you can say entity which are involved whenever there is a deployment on the production environment, right? And only then we will obviously start with the QA activity on the prod environment. Because if anything goes wrong, the DevOps engineer will have full access to obviously modify, or let's say you can say revert the changes what has been done, so that it comes to the previous image, guys. Okay, that's the whole reason for DevOps. Okay, anybody has any confusion on environment, guys? Anything you want to ask about environment? Because some organization may use some different name for here, guys. Okay, so don't go with the name as of now. Okay, some organization may use some other names, right, based on their organization, you can say prefix or suffix. Okay, but yes, overall we will have at least 3 to 4, maximum 5, I would say, environment, to have the double confirmation for each and every module, every test cases, whatever we are doing on all the environment, guys. Okay, here the most stable environment will be QA and stage, guys. Okay, you will not be saying that development environment is stable, because development environment, obviously both the teams are working at the same time on this environment, and we are not doing any types of testing on dev environment. Please keep that in mind. Is it clear? Anyone has any confusion, any doubt, anything you want to highlight, ask?
Sir, one question.
Mm-hmm.
So, QA will be doing testing on this QA environment, right? So
Perfect.
now we have the performance team also. For example, we have one project going on. So QA testing is done. After that, the performance team is included. So the performance team will be not using the same environment. They will be having the different
Perfect.
environment, right?
Yes. So this is the one which
So
will be replica of, which will be
QA
replica.
environment.
Actually, ideally, in an ideal scenario, it is the replica of production, actually. Okay, because
Okay.
what happens in
Replica.
performance is like you usually go with virtual user and ramp up time, all those scenarios, right? So it should
Yes.
be replica of production, because you need to get the, you can say, what is the SLA for each and every you can say test cases, right? But if, let's say, as I mentioned, if the application or module is not popular as of now, for cost cutting purpose, what they will do, they will obviously do the replica of QA environment, and they
Okay.
will ask you
Otherwise,
to
it will.
do the
Okay.
performance testing, not high level, not with a greater number,
Okay, sir. Fine.
right? But yes,
Right.
whatever functionality you will have on this, that is qa.amazon.com, the same functionality should be available on this.
On the performance. Okay.
Yes, it will be mirror image of this uh,
Perf-
qa.amazon.
okay, sir. Thank
And
you.
it may happen that performance, let's say it is done on this, there might not be a stage environment. Okay, it may happen that. Okay, because as you know, each and environment increases, obviously there are some, obviously Azure server, AWS server, the costing is involved in each and every, you can say, instances they are creating. Because the more the API call, the, you can say, There will be a costing involved for each and every scenarios what we will be performing, guys. Okay, so obviously if
And
they are, let's say, ready to take risk, they might not create the stage environment. But yes, I would prefer to have the stage environment as well. Yeah, go ahead.
no, sir. Fine. Thank you.
Yes, so here we will have the performance team who will be kind of working on stage dot perform dot amazon.com. Okay, so all the, you can say, performance script which we have executed on this QA, right? Those all will be executed on stage as well. Okay, because here the concept arises of think time, latency, all those stay like performance related metrics will come into picture, guys. Okay, so the numbers should be matching if the configuration and everything is same. Yes, anyone else, anything you want to highlight, ask?
Sir, in which environment UAT is performed?
UAT will be something, let's say, before moving to prod, there will be something, as I mentioned, right? Some of the organization will say that, hey, don't migrate directly into this. Okay, so we will have something called as pre-prod environment, right? So on that environment, you can consider that UAT testing, or let's say beta testing might happen. So that can be a client call, guys. Okay, whether they will have the separate environment or they will say that, hey, please do the UAT on stage environment. That is again the client call, what client is saying. As I mentioned, the maximum number of environment can be 5, not more than that. Okay, so guys, as I mentioned about the environment, the now the concern arises whether we need to perform the automation for all the environment. The answer to this question is we will be kind of purely responsible for performing automation for at least 3 environment. Okay, so based on that, you need to kind of run your script for all 3 environment, and based on that only you will make a conclusion statement saying that yes, sanity testing is passed, regression testing is passed, smoke testing is passed. All those statements, once you run the automation script, right, you will get the report, and in that report all the assertions whatever you have written, the debug sorry checkpoints, those should get passed, and only then you will make a statement, yes, the, you can say, the all the test case are working as expected in all the environment. Is it clear? Anyone has anything to ask, highlight? Okay, so guys, I would like to talk about little bit more about the this testing things. So just at high level, I'll quickly go through this as well, wherein, as I mentioned, right, system testing has like few components: GUI, usability, functional, and non-functional. So as you are already aware, like GUI is mostly, you can say, wherein there will be UI part which will be involved, right? So all the checkboxes, buttons, menu, font, all those things will happen in GUI, guys. Okay, the look and feel, the layout of button, the color combination, header, footer, menu section, logos, all will be part of your GUI. Okay, so here you can see the list. Obviously this list will keep on increasing if your site complexity is high. Okay, so you need to make sure that all this pointer whatever is being mentioned over here, those should be validated, and on this particular point only you need to give the double confirmation. And one more thing, you will get this button, radio button size and everything from the client, guys. Okay, and the expected screenshot, actual screenshot, you need to match based on the font, color combinations, the size of the button, the text which is visible, right? So very important, make sure that you need to make sure all the expected screenshot, expected PDF, expected you can say blueprint are matching with whatever has been implemented. Usability is, guys, whatever has been developed, how it is easy to operate, right? So in usability, what we will do, we will kind of obviously perform some high level scenario, whether you are able to open the website, whether you are able to kind of fill the form, click on submit button, whether the buttons are visible, all this will come under usability testing. Okay. Next is functional testing, is and like how what are the different, you can say, data set which we can enter, what are the positive data set, negative data set, what are the error, what are the database related like testing which we need to do, error handling, how the error are handled, what are the different, you can say, screen you can say error message that has been populated, how they are populated, whether they are understandable, how many links are available, whether they are navigating to correct you can say correct pages, if not then you need to raise issues, how the cookies are maintained, sessions are being maintained. As you know, right, whenever you enter some credential for any of the website, the cookies values or you can say session values will be stored. So all this will come under functional testing, guys. Okay. Non-functional testing, as I mentioned, load, stress, volume, which will be part of performance. Security is there, and other than that, we are having a lot of other different testing also. But as a QA, we are kind of purely focusing on performance and security. Installation, configuration, compatibility, recovery is a part of, you can say, non-functional testing only, right? It will be done as per like whenever we say that the configuration testing is passed, basically like whatever setup we need to do, right? So that setup should be working fine. So only then we will make sure saying that yes, NFT is passed for this application. Okay. So non-functional testing is very very important aspect. That's the reason we are having a separate dedicated team who will be kind of performing the UI as well as API performance testing, guys. The difference, very as I already discussed, right? Functional, you we already said that it will be done on stable environment and we will be describing what software does, and non-functionality will be describing how software works, right? It will be concentrating on user requirement, it will be more concentrating on the user expectation. And functional testing usually take place before, guys, okay, before NFT. And non-functional testing is performed after finishing the functional testing. Once the functional testing is completed, only then you will jump to non-functional testing, guys. Okay. Okay. So anybody, just to recap, guys, today we spoke about different you can say testing techniques, that is walkthrough, review, inspection. Then we you can say spoke about different testing types such as white box, black box, and gray box. We saw some of the examples on each one of them, right? After that, we saw the level of software testing such as unit. Then we spoke integration system and the UAT, right? After that, we have spoken about the system testing. What are the different component of system testing, such as non-functional, functional, usability, and the graphical user interface testing. And we also spoke about the environment part, wherein there are various things to be considered whenever we are migrating code from one environment to another from the QA point of view. Anyone has anything to ask, highlight?
Sir, one question, like when the functional team is doing, testing, when they are starting the testing process,
Hmm.
then on the same time, the automation team is also doing the, the scripting part in the framework, working on the same.
Hmm. Right. So usually the practice is we should go with n minus one sprint, right? So what is n minus one? Basically, the, let's say, unit testing, or let's say the manual testing is completed, and you are in, let's say, sprint 45. So the automation team will be doing the automation for print 44 activity.
Okay,
So
one batch.
basically, like, whatever is completed prior, so n minus one logic will be implemented. Usually, that is what the best practice whenever we go with hand in hand, both manual and automation. Okay.